is Cole according to him?
Cole's a copywriter, Cole's a marketer, Cole's a salesperson. I'm also a dad to a cat. So I love cats. I also love dogs.
I'm scared of cats and dogs both. So what would be one defining moment that you'll say that, okay, this moment changed my entire life?
I remember my boss was crying one morning. I was like, man, what is going on?
What are the problems right now you're facing?
The biggest problem you're solving for is what's next? Why am I on this earth and what am I really here to do? Like, what do I really want to do?
Like when you was 15 years old, 16 years old, just starting out in the industry, in the entrepreneurship, what would be the advice you would like to give to that person?
Or this person stole my copy from this or that. All these things outside of your control don't matter to you.
I just wanted to ask, how difficult was it to ask for help for you?
It was impossible. I did not ask for help.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of No Filters, Just Founders. Today with me, I have Cole Vandee. This guy has generated around 300 millions in email marketing, like just using email marketing for himself, for his clients. He has generated around 300 million. He is the founder of the copy agency. He has worked with brands like Impact Brand, Grow Rev, Full Stack Marketer, Knowledge Society, and Support Pets. He is also a martial arts specialist, especially in Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. And also, he's the author of the book, Email Deliverability. Today, we are going to talk with him about all about his business, about email marketing, copywriting. And if you are someone who wants to work with big brands, big companies, then we are also going to deep dive into that. I'm super glad to have Cole on our show. Hi, Cole. How are you?
Hello, thank you. I am well. Thank you for the awesome intro, too. That was very nice.
Thank you for being here with us, and we are super glad we are going to get into all the questions. But before we start, the one question that I asked to all my guests is that we know Cole as this guy who has built this amazing empire and who is doing so great in sales, in copywriting, in email marketing. But who is Cole according to him? Who do you think is Cole?
Yeah, I think it's a really like great question to ask, right? So many times, like throughout my life, I've always identified with like the job title I had or the career or the business or whatever it may be. So if you would have asked me, several years ago, I would have said Cole's a copywriter, Cole's a marketer, Cole's a salesperson. And these days, I'm really, finding ways to reinvent myself and finding new layers of who I am. And so I would say, I'm very curious and ambitious and also finding different ways to like serve the world and leave a greater impact. Um, I'm also a dad to a cat. So I love cats. I also love dogs. It's just easier to travel with a cat because they don't need to go out for walks and stuff. Um, and yeah, so right now that's who I am. I've also been enjoying traveling quite a bit. So I've been exploring the world for the first time over the last year or so. And yeah, so that would, if I was to kind of describe like who I am outside of the things that I do, I think that would sum it up.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And this is just a personal thing, but I'm scared of cats and dogs both. So that's not an issue.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like I love them both, but I'm really scared. But yeah, that's cute. That's really cute. And thank you so much for this
Fair
beautiful
enough.
answer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, cats are definitely something to be afraid of because they're very sporadic. So I get it.
Yeah, someone there will do that. Okay, awesome. Now let's deep dive into a little bit into your journey. We would like to know, like I remember seeing your videos about, you used to do those lives about copywriting in beach and in your room, and now from there to working with such big companies and generating solid results for your client. How did you started your journey with respect to copywriting and sales? And I would also like to add one follow-up question. What would be one defining moment that you will say that, okay, this moment changed my entire life and throughout your journey?
let's unpack that. 'Cause those are two really, really, I think, great questions, right? Um, I think to like, if I was to sum it up, and then I'll give some context behind it. To sum it up, when I first got started, I just really didn't have a choice but to figure it out.
Mhm.
I was severely in debt. I had over six figures in debt to myself. I had moved from Illinois, which is in the middle of the United States, over to California. The cost of living is like 10 times more in Los Angeles than it is in my hometown in Illinois. I was sleeping on a couch. I didn't have a job. I didn't really have a plan. And I just kind of like, I was in a place where I really had to just figure it out. It was either success or failure. There was no middle ground for me. And so I think that really gave me the fuel to push through. Um, and it was a big catalyst, I think, for how I went from just starting out to really working with bigger names. Um, and when I really look at like what did that process, how did that process really happen? For me, it was just going for it was really the big thing, and believing I could. So getting into copywriting was more or less an accident. I remember before that, I was selling cars in Iowa, which is also in the Midwest there. And I remember my boss was crying one morning. And I was like, man, what is going on? And he's like, I'm 35 years old and I just don't think I'll ever be able to do anything other than this. He's like, this is my life for the next 40 years. And I was 20 years old or 21 years old at the time. And I was like, I definitely don't want that. So I started looking for different opportunities, starting businesses, and I'd probably 10 or 12 businesses that all failed. I made stickers. I did sales consulting for t-shirt companies. I did. I was part of this consulting group that just never made any money. I had my own motivational T-shirt line. I mean, I tried everything you could possibly. I had a drop shipping store that sold bow ties. Well, that wanted to sell bow ties, but I just never sold any bow ties. I tried so many different things, and it was really just to like get out of this societal norm of like, I have a job and this is what my life has to be because that's what everyone else is doing. And I started to chart my own path. And through that process, I found marketing. And at first, it was, I was good at building funnels and running ads. And then what I realized I was really good at was the words with the ads. And so that's when I started kind of learning what copywriting was. I didn't know that term when I first started and got my first copywriting client. I had no idea it was called copywriting. I just told people, hey, I'll write words for your business and it'll make money. And I remember getting paid, $50 or $100 to do that. And my very first legitimate copywriting gig was I wrote for product descriptions for patio furniture. And I thought I got paid $50 to do this, but I looked in my Fiverr account and I got paid $5 to do it. So I wrote a couple thousand words for literally $5 minus the Fiverr fee. So I got paid like $4.80. I just looked at this because I'm running a workshop here shortly. And that's one of the discussions. It was like, what was your first gig? Uh, and so, I think part of it is like you start somewhere and there's this weird balance between I'm the best in the world is like a belief that you want to hold. And I'm humble enough to take any money that allows me to get better at this thing. And so I know that those things drove a lot of the early years for me for sure. As far as your second question, I think was a defining moment. And there's been lots and lots and lots and lots of defining moments in my life. I personally call them benchmarks. And, I think for me, like I would say a real defining moment, and this comes a little later in the journey. in the beginning, I believe you just have to work hard, and you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know why you're doing it, and a lot of times you don't even know how. You're just doing a lot of things until something works, and I think that's being an entrepreneur. And at certain point, you're going to hit a wall and realize that you need more than just you. And that for me, that's kind of where my defining moment kind of lies. I had been in business for probably what this benchmark one was 2019. I'd been in business for maybe 5 years ish, and I'd been making money in business for maybe 2 or 3 years. So I was making maybe $100,000 to $200,000 a year, give or take, but I just could never seem to keep things going. I could get that 100 grand or so a year. I'd spend all of it on whatever books, courses, events. I thought that I needed to fly private, like just a bunch of dumb stuff. Like if I got money in, I always got rid of it. And so the defining moment for me was in 2019 where I had gotten a job again, was still running businesses at the same time. And I realized I needed help. There was so many things I did not know that I could not muscle my way through anymore. I couldn't just put my head down and charge through it. I really needed someone else to kind of point and go, hey, these are the things that are holding you back. And so for me, that benchmark moment was I attended this class. It was a 3 day class. Mine was in person back then. Now they're online, but it was really more of like an awareness class of like, what's happening? Why am I sabotaging my success? Why can I never seem to make more than X amount of dollars? Why is it so hard to get out of bed some days? Why this, why that? And it really brought a lot of awareness for me to how I was showing up in the world. And after that, I was able to really put together what I call a company instead of a business, where I started building companies. I was able to leave my job, and I haven't been back to a job since. It's been 5 years now ish, since I've been full time in my business. And since then, yeah, I've gone on to generate hundreds of millions of dollars for clients. I've built awesome companies. I've worked with awesome people, and it's been a great time since. So, yeah.
That's super great. And like what you said about like starting a lot of companies, you did start a lot of companies. What do you think is like okay, like after failing these many businesses, what is that one lesson you learned that okay, why do you think those businesses failed, and what did you
Mhm.
learn from that?
I would say there's a few different reasons why those businesses failed. I would say the common denominator is I thought they would be easy. I thought, oh yeah, like I'll be able to make money with this. No problem. Like this, I'll just run some ads. Money will come in the door. No problem. And that's just not the reality of it. The gurus online or the
Hmm.
coaches or the Instagrammers or influencers. Oh yeah, you just have this perfect funnel or you just have this perfect
Oh,
thing and you just run these ads and it'll just work. And that's not even true for them. I've worked with a lot of these guys now that the guys that teach the guys that teach how to launch stuff and stuff like that, and they launch stuff and it doesn't work. It's like there's no silver bullet. And so a lot of the reasons that those businesses fail is because I went in thinking it would be easy and not willing to like really think about what's needed in order to make a business successful.
hmm. Right.
So that was the majority of it. The other ones that failed, I just quit so soon, or I didn't see a way to scale them. So like my sticker business made money, but I was working for like $3 an hour, and I was like, not seeing a way to scale this right now. So I'm gonna let this one go. Um, so yeah, that's I would say those are probably the two big reasons why.
Um, Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned when you mentioned that you were earning $100,000, $200,000, and you were like spending it all. But like someone like for someone who is not earning that much amount, what it feels like, oh, this guy is earning so much, he doesn't have any problem in life, all those kind of things. how would you explain your situation and what like how you were feeling at that time? If like for
Mm.
example you are earning this much amount, still you must be having issues with your life, with your business. So how would you explain that?
Yeah, that's a great question actually, and it's something I wish I would have. I'm sure someone had shared something like this with me, but I just didn't listen to it at the time. But what I had come to realize is that a lot of times, especially, I remember when I was 18 years old, I made no money. I broke ramen noodle packets in half. They cost 10 cents, and I'd break them in half so I could have lunch and dinner. Like I used to be very poor. My rent was maybe $400 a month. I was walking to and from work. I have a driver's license. I was making minimum wage. Like I've been there, right? So I get that. And in that thought process, I was like, if I make more money, then my problems will go away. And it's an easy belief to have because you don't know what the other side of the fence looks like. And what I've learned, and I've been around guys that are doing any amounts of revenue and business that you could possibly imagine. Billionaires, guys that do hundreds of millions a year, guys that do tens of millions a year, guys that do millions a year, hundreds of thousands a year. Does not matter at what level in which you are financially secure, if you will. You have problems. And when you remove money as being the problem, now you're talking about your personal life, right? You're
Yeah.
talking about stress in areas that you didn't even expect. It's really easy. I think not having money is probably one of the easiest problems to like actually deal with because there's a tangible thing where you can go, okay, now I've solved
And
that
control it.
problem, and so yeah, so I mean, for me, when I was making $100,000 or $200,000 a year, for me, the reality of it was, and I'm just going to be really open and vulnerable with everybody. I just didn't believe that I deserved it. I was telling myself I'm the greatest in the world, but the truth behind it was I didn't believe that I should have that money. I really didn't believe that, and so for me, because money was no longer a problem. I created new problems by getting rid of all of that money. And so I would overspend, put myself in debt, and do all these things to bring myself back down to where I believed my self worth was. So my self worth was probably around $40,000 or $50,000 a year. So when I made anything more than that, I spent it. I got rid of it. Um, on luxury purchases or stupid things from Amazon or books or traveling or whatever it was. I would do my best to get rid of that money. And as what I've learned, one of the things, and I know people aren't, this isn't going to land for everybody, but I know as I worked on like my self worth, then the money I kept started to grow and I started to make more of it. And that problem started to solve itself, but there's still problems to solve for
Yeah.
every single day, no matter what. And typically, the more money you make, the bigger and more scary the problems are in comparison. Because if you're making $1 million a year, you're now dealing with $1 million problems. And although you have more resources to take care of those problems, they can still be really daunting and stressful problems to deal with. So,
Yeah. And if we could just little bit deep dive into it, you must be earning much more than what you were earning back then. What are the problems right now you're facing? Like, what are the things that you're like, okay, I need to solve this now?
oh, yeah, well, I think the hardest place to be, and depending on the month, but once you get to around 30 to $50,000 a month in personal pay, um, the biggest problem you're solving for is what's next, because
Mhm.
it's like you can do a lot at
Yeah.
30 or 40,000 or $50,000 a month. Like you can have a really nice house, you can have a really nice car, you can take a vacation every couple months, you can dine out every night, you can like there's not much more that you need from a comfortability and survival standpoint. And you can see the ears of my cat.
Yeah.
This is
Hi.
Eleanor.
Don't scratch me.
I think you're safe for now. You're safe for now. And so the problem that most people are solving for in that realm, for example, is they're solving for the problem of complacency and comfortability, right? You have all the things you need at a luxurious level. Why are you doing it now? Because the next dollar isn't as exciting as it was when you weren't making money. You know, when you don't have any money, making more money is fun. It's like, ooh, yes, now I can have a steak dinner, or I can
Yeah.
finally go on vacation. And then once you get to that level where it's like consistent, predictable, and constant, you're like, well, that's not as fun. Like, I'm just going to kind of stay here, and I don't want to have to run through brick walls every single day to get to the next level because it's just money now, right? And so I think the big challenge that a lot of people are solving for is like, what's next? And that's what I've been working on personally for myself. I've made millions of dollars over the years, and really the big problem that I've been solving for personally is like, why am I on this earth, and what am I really here to do? Like, what do I really want to do? And it's really easy to think about, things that I should want to do based on my skill sets, right? I'm a very talented email marketer. I should build a very large email marketing company. That's very logical, but it doesn't get me super, super, super excited. I love doing email. I love working with the clients I have, but I don't want thousands of clients. I only want great clients that are fun to work with. And so that's not super scalable. And I don't think it's like the legacy that I want to give down to my future children, right? Where it's like, you guys are the email guys, go figure it out. I think that there's something more and bigger there. And so I've been experimenting more with what I call genius level talent. And it's one of the things that I've kind of recognized, that like every person I've met, regardless of who they might be or what their status is, I believe they all have genius level talent. And so it's like become this new obsession of mine, this new curiosity, where I've been going down the rabbit hole of like, why are high performers high performers? Why are successful people successful? And there's timing, and there's vision, and there's things like that. But I also think it's because they found something that they're really good at, and they just decided that was going to be their thing. And they tied that to serving and helping the world. And that in and of itself gave them the rocket fuel to create their careers, their lives, and their legacy. So that's been kind of the problem I'm currently solving for. And how there's also other problems, like there's bigger tax bills. There's, when you're negotiating for things, it's no longer negotiating over $100. Now you're negotiating over thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, right? You're dealing with people that are significantly smarter and more experienced than you in business, because you're making more money, you're charging more money, you're dealing with bigger companies. So now you're dealing with bigger problems. Like, you have to like have who's a good business lawyer? Is that business lawyer as good as you think they might be? How do you read a contract? What is the contract not saying that is possible but it's not clearly written? Like, there's a lot of more problems that you're dealing with at this level, and will continue to deal with. And you deal with, who am I hiring? Who's my next hire? Is that the right person to hire? How do I know that they're not going to rob or steal from the company? And like, it's never ending problems. You solve one problem, you usually get two or three more on the back end of it. And so I think a good shift for a lot of people, I know I've been rambling on this one for a minute, but I think a really great shift for a lot of people is to get away from this idea that problems stop existing at some point. I think a better perspective to have is, how do I become better so that way the problems become simpler to solve? And that's been kind of my pursuit over the last 6 years or so.
That's beautiful. The reason for me to ask you this is that it is very easier to look from like from behind and see and think that this guy has all sorted, he's doing so great, and like he's enjoying the time of his life, but only the person knows exactly what they are going through. So I would, and as an entrepreneur, I know like there are a lot of problems that comes into business that we even don't share to anyone, with anyone. So I would really like to, let my viewers know that, every stage there are problems. It's how you deal with them, and how you, as you said, how you make it simpler is what the real hustle is. Yeah, thank you so much for being so honest with that. Now,
Absolutely. I have
Let's.
one more point on that. I really loved what you shared there. And I think for me, early on, I thought that I could not share with people I had problems and that I had to let the world think I had it all figured out. And I'll say that that worked for me up until a certain point. What I can say is the shift from thinking I need to hold all of my problems internal and not share them and not talk through them and not, let people know about them, versus letting people, like letting some of my, business partners or friends or even some clients, depending on your relationship with them, let them know like, hey, these are some challenges I'm currently facing. Do you have any ideas? Because man, like if especially if you're doing business with business owners, like they've probably been through the problems you're going through. They can help you solve that really fast. But I thought I needed to present like I have it all figured out. Don't worry about me. um, and they know that you don't. You know, and so yeah, so don't. I would say don't be embarrassed, not that you don't know something, and also realize that like at any stage, people don't have it figured out. Billionaires don't have it figured out. Millionaires don't have it figured out. No one has it figured out. There is no figuring it out. It's every day is new, and every challenge becomes a new challenge, and every level is a new level. So yeah, that's awesome. Glad we got to touch on that a little bit.
I really like this topic, and I just have one more question. I think let's just little bit. Um, I just wanted to ask, how difficult was it to ask for help for you, like as an
Oh, it
entrepreneur?
was early on in my career. It was impossible. I did not ask for help, ever. I did everything. I figured it out. I would get books. I would watch YouTube videos. I would just do it. And for me, I solved the I don't know what to do, or I don't know how to do it, or I'm stuck. What do I do now? I just solved everything by just taking a lot of action. I just worked really hard. I was working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's not like I was just designing logos or making the website pretty. Like I was working, I was getting more clients. I was fulfilling on clients. I was handling contracts. I was like doing anything I could to push business forward, as much as I possibly could. And that was how I solved that problem. Not the best way to solve that problem, but it is a way that works pretty much every single time up to a certain point. So yeah, asking for help. I know like if younger me, if 19 or 20-year-old me was listening to this right now and listening to me talk, knowing that I'm him from the future, he still wouldn't listen to the idea that he needs help.
Mm.
Right. I'm aware of that. And I'm very aware that, a lot of people tried helping me along the way and I just wouldn't let them. And part of that is because that's just how I grew up. You figure it out on your own, you make things happen. No one's here to help you. No one's coming to save you. And it took years and years and years to unwind all of that. And now I get help all the time. I'll shoot a text off to, I remember last week I shot a text to my buddy. Hey man, I know you have this cold email system to generate new clients set up for your business. It's doing really well. I'm not really tech savvy. Can you send me over your SOPs on how you guys set that up so I can have my team set it up? And he's like, yeah, dude, like, of course, but older me, like younger me would have been like, don't ask him. Like, he'll think you don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't care if he knows what I'm doing or not. Like, this is something I need help with. So, I don't know if that's age or maturity or just realizing like no one has it figured out, but something along the way kind of shifted my perspective of getting help versus I don't need help. I'll say getting help is much better, faster, more efficient, more profitable than not getting help.
Yeah, I get you. I 100% get you. Like when I started my business, I was like, it is that feeling that, I don't want to show the world that my things are messed up. I'll only show the pretty things. But I guess I guess one thing that you said that, seeing that others also have their business messed up, or, their systems are not that great that is shown. That is something that makes you feel like, okay, yeah, I'm not alone. And the reason for me to asking you this is because if somebody is watching this, they should feel that, okay, they are also not alone. If they are feeling like I'm not able to figure this out, they can ask for help, because yeah, most of the time it is just difficult. But yeah, thank you for being so honest about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish more people would ask for help. I help people all the time. I remember a friend of mine, Chris. He runs a I don't know what you would call it. Basically, he runs marketing for people that have books, to
Mhm.
help them scale their book offers. And he
Mhm.
had a copywriter. They're in Australia, and they had a copywriter, young, really young kid, early 20s, maybe even like 19 or something like that. Um, and he was like, hey, he was asking, he was like, do I have any copywriter, like successful copywriters in my network that would chat with my copywriter? He wants to take on new clients, but he doesn't know how. I was like, yeah. So we jumped on a call, and like the whole call, he was just like asking a bunch of questions and like just getting all the help. And I'm just giving him everything. Here's the full playbook. This is exactly how you get bigger clients. This is how much you charge. This is why you charge that much. Like I gave him everything. Right. And at the end of the call, he's like, dude, thank you so much. And I was just thinking, like, damn, I never would have asked for help at his age. So I'm so glad that he did. And I think that was that was really, really cool for me to see. Cause like people like me, for example, like I love helping people. Very successful people love helping people so long as they're doing the work. They're asking good questions, like and sometimes even if you're asking questions and we don't think they're the best questions, we'll give you a different question to ask. And then you're willing to apply what you learn.
Mhm.
And if we think those three things are happening, we're almost willing to go out of our way to help.
Mhm.
Because that for us, that's a rewarding part. Making another dollar isn't as rewarding as it is helping someone else get what they want out of life. So hopefully that's super helpful for someone listening.
That's really, really helpful. Thank you so much for being honest about that. Okay. Now diving into more technical stuff. We know that you work with these large companies making companies making around $250 per $250,000 per month, and that kind of revenue. I think my main question would be, how did you firstly figure out you want to work with these companies, and how did you network with them?
Sure. Yeah. No, great questions. It's it's all about I'm not going to be able to really break it all down in this particular podcast, but I'll be able to give people enough to where if they wanted to, they can do some research on their own to like fully round out everything, because it's not, there's like a simple explanation for it, and it's just positioning. Like I positioned myself in a way that gave me the opportunities. And I did that early. I mean, my first really big copywriting client was Ty Lopez. That's Knowledge Society, right? That's his company. And Ty Lopez, if you guys don't know who that is, it's really surprising. But he was on at one point, he was on pretty much every single computer in the world. Like he ran so many ads, it was insane. And so the way that I was able to work for him was I early in my career, I had become a contributor to different online publications. So I would write articles, blogs, basically for free. I didn't get paid or anything like that. And I started on medium.com, which is a free blogging site. You can create your own blog. It's incredibly easy to do. I highly recommend it. And you just blog, you share your ideas, you share your thoughts, you share your concepts, you just share things. So I started there. I eventually got an article published with Gary Vaynerchuk's senior copywriter. He had his own personal blog that he ran called The Ascent. And so I started working with him. And then he's like, you should write for these other publications. And then my friend Hillary helped me get into these other publications because she was an editor for some. And so I submitted articles to Influensive, Thrive Global, Addicted to Success, and I became a contributor for these platforms. And through this process, I became friends with the owners of these publications because I'm a contributor, and like some of my articles were doing well and things like that. So I would message them on Facebook. Like they didn't know who I was. I was just like, hey, I'm one of your contributors. Thank you so much for creating this platform or whatever. I'd just be annoying. And then I get a message from I think it was Brian Evans from Influencive, and I want to say it was Brian. It could have been Clinton. They were business partners in that publication, and I got a message like, "Hey, are you taking on copywriting projects? Ty Lopez's team reached out to us and asked us if we knew any copywriters, and you're the only writer we have on staff that does direct response copywriting." And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm definitely taking on projects." And so that's how I got Ty Lopez. And then I had to go through like 6 or 7 rounds of test projects to finally get a paid project with them. And then I started writing for Alex Sharfin, Dave Meltzer, Casey Adams. Tim Sykes was a client at one point. And so there's different ways, right? So like positioning. So one, if you're a writer on a big publication, like that's a great way to like, hey, I can write and people like my writing. This is awesome. The way I got Alex Sharfin was by being influential to his students. So he had people paying him $30,000 a year in his mastermind. So I just went to those people that were paying him $30,000 a year. I wrote copy for all of them. And then eventually Alex said, hey, I need help with copywriting. Who do you guys know? And every single person that was paying him $30,000 a year said it was me. Cole, right? Imagine a post on Facebook and then the only person getting recommended is you, right? So I did that by writing for free for those people. So that helped a ton. And then and so the strategy there, if you don't write for coaches or consultants, but you want to write for something else, is who is the decision maker, and then who are the people that they know, like, and trust already, and then what value can you bring to them, right? It's the sphere of influence. And so I don't necessarily need to be connected to the decision maker, but the decision maker has friends. And I want to be friends with his friends because those people are a lot easier to get to than the decision maker most of the time. So that strategy worked incredibly well for me. And then I remember the way I got to Timothy Sykes was I knew who he was already. He's got millions of followers. He teaches people how to trade the stock market. And my friend Paris, who was my roommate at the time, got invited. She had been some of her friends had been kind of hanging out with Tim on the yachts and private jets and traveling the world and stuff like that. And Paris got invited to go, I think, to Turks and Caicos with Tim and some of her friends. And so Paris didn't know Tim yet, but she was going to meet Tim. And she got back and I'm like, hey, I need Tim to see my Instagram. Like, I'm going to DM him. I need him to see it. And she's like, I can help with that. And so, because I was DMing Tim a lot. And then finally, he's like, email my business partner. It's like, all right. So I emailed the business partner. I pitched him an idea. And even, they didn't like the idea, but they're like, we do need copy written. Here's what we need. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I ended up meeting them in Hollywood because I lived in LA. So I met them in Hollywood at a bar where we chatted for a few minutes about, what does he want? What does he need? Where is he taking the business? And just kind of like a vibe check, if you will, of like, does this even make sense? And it ended up making sense. They paid me to do a handful of projects. I wrote some copy for them, and that project ended up not going well. And I failed that project terribly, but I still got the opportunity to do it. And now I had all these big names, so it was easier to get more big names. If that makes sense, right? So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of persistence. It's a lot of trying to figure out, how do I get to the people I need to get to, and what resources do I have available to me? Like, I'm sure that a lot of freelancers don't have a friend that hangs out with, influencers. Like, okay, great. Like, there still would have been other ways for me to get to Tim, right? I would have found these people that are hanging out with Tim, and then I would have found their personal friends that maybe have 1,000 followers or 500 followers. It's like, I can DM those people because they don't get any DMs, right? So I want to reach out to those people. So yeah, so it's it's really finding ways to just get in touch with decision makers. And it starts with like, who do you even want to work with?
Mm,
I just write down, I used to teach a Dream 100 client list strategy where this was years and years and years ago, but you would basically just create your dream clients, like just shoot for the stars. Who do you want to write for?
mm,
It could be literally anybody. You want to write for Elon Musk, put that on your list. Like you'd be very surprised how easy it is to get in touch with him or his team. You're not that far away. So
yeah.
yeah, hopefully that answers the question you're
Yeah,
asking.
it does. I remember from this an interesting theory. Like I took this course one time, and it says that you are just 7 link away from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just connected. Like again, this is the long shot. But if I want to someday talk with President Trump, I guess I'm just 7 links away from like finding him or talking with him. Again, like it takes time, of course, to reach that level.
Yeah,
But yeah, like you always have to at least give it your shot. So yeah, that completely makes sense. Now,
yeah.
one more thing, deeping dive into this. Like, how did you retain those clients? Like, you acquire them, you close them, but
Mm.
what are the things that one needs to take care of so that they retain such big clients?
Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly simple, but under promise, over deliver
Mm,
regularly. Um, and then like, over the years, like I've had clients now, like some of my oldest standing clients I've had for like 4 years now. And the big thing is like understanding businesses go through ebbs and flows. Businesses go up, businesses go down. Things happen outside of their control, outside of your control. Sometimes things happen in their control. They make a bad decision, something happens here, whatever it may be. And knowing that, right? So I had a client, I won't name them just because I don't know if they want this shared necessarily, but I had a client, they're heavily reliant on Facebook ads. And then the Facebook ad platform completely changed and the cost of ads went up by 6 or 7 times. They went from having a very healthy profit margin that is extremely like really, really, really good to no profit margin.
mm, mm,
Like, and they contract me to write emails,
mm,
but I also I have a really great marketing brain. I have a really great sales brain. I have an idea brain, right? So I'm like, all right, how can I help them get through this? Like, how can I help them make more cash? Because I know that one, yes, maybe it's their fault they didn't diversify their traffic. Two, it's definitely not my fault because I don't run the ads or write the copy for the ads or have anything to do with the ads. I just do email. Right. So, like, all these things are happening that had nothing to do with me. And it's really easy for me to be like, well, they need to fix that. And then it'd be really easy for them to be like, we aren't paying you anymore because we're not making any money. So if I want to keep them as a client, I have to do things that are way outside of what I'm contracted to do, what I'm obligated to do, what I should be doing. And I need to start like, how can I contribute to this business? How can I help them grow and succeed even when they're challenged? And so there'd be times where it's like, I'm working with the sales managers. I'm like, hey, here's some different ways to extract some cash out of people that are interested but aren't paying yet. Here's some different, I'll send some emails like this. It'll get the phone ringing for this. Working with customer support. Hey, I'm going to send an email out so these people don't refund because I know right now the economy is really tough. So I really want to make sure that you guys aren't having a hard time with that. And like I'm going above and beyond, not billing them for any of this, not expecting anything from it, but I want to help the business survive.
mm,
Because if the business survives, I can typically keep my contract and survive with them. And I look really good to them, right? So I call it just being a leader. I get paid to do emails, but if I need to jump on a sales call for a client because their calendars are booked and like I'll jump on a sales call. Like, am I trained to do it? No. Is that my job? No. Will I get paid a commission? I don't know. Like, but sometimes things are needed that have to be done and it's not in your purview and it's not really in your realm. The harder part of that is like when you really start taking on more clients, it's harder to do those things. um, and so that's where, depending on what scale you're at, is going to be the level of like care and service you can provide. I think of it as like, if you're going to give the same customer service you would get from like a Holiday Inn Express hotel, to your clients versus the Ritz-Carlton.
Mm.
You should expect that you're going to get Holiday Inn Express pricing, right? And so at the Ritz-Carlton, like, it's not their problem that I need my shirt, dry cleaned, right? But they're going to help me with it. It's
Yeah.
not their fault that it's raining and I didn't bring an umbrella, but they're going to make sure I have an umbrella, right? It's not their fault that my dietary restrictions don't allow me to eat what's on the menu. So they're going to go out of their way to make sure that I can eat something, and they'll go to the grocery store, they'll do something to make sure I can eat, right? So, but at the Holiday Inn Express, they're like, why didn't you bring an umbrella? Or, why didn't you think about your own dietary needs before you came here? Like, it's the mindset. And so,
Right.
because I want to get paid like I'm the Ritz Carlton, I'm going to treat my customers like I'm the Ritz Carlton.
Mm.
So that's the best advice that I can give there.
And do you think it's difficult to maintain the quality of service, not just, like, well, for example, in your case, just email writing or email setup, email marketing, but holistic support that you're saying, it's like, you think it's difficult, like, how should one maintain quality with scaling?
Yeah, that's the hardest question. I'm probably not the best person to answer that question just because I don't have a massive team. But what I can say, I have some friends that run agencies with 200 or 300 employees. Um, the biggest thing that they have learned to do is they build their teams in what they call pods. And
Mm.
so a pod is basically like a small team. So like I have a small team right now, like a couple writers, a couple VAs that load and schedule stuff. I do strategy, but I would eventually have a strategy guy. And like that, those people, like, they would make one pod and they would service 2 or 3 clients, and that they would basically run as their own little company.
Mm.
And you want to keep them all mission oriented. So this is our mission. This is what we stand for. This is what we believe in. And you keep the culture tight. That's the hardest part. How you get there from the beginning, like from from freelancer to I have a few team members, is systematizing and processing out everything in your brain. So creating SOPs, which sounds really boring. And believe it or not, everything can be an SOP. How to write an email. There's SOPs on how to write emails for my agency and how we do that. And you would think, well, isn't that more creative or whatever? No, we think it is, but it's not. It's everything is a system or a process. And the more detailed you can be about that, the more you can repeat that desired result. And then you can give them a little free reign to adjust or adapt those SOPs to grow and evolve and be better. Um, so yeah, that would be that my suggestion for that. But also, I would probably say I'm not the best person to answer the how do you maintain at full scale, because I don't take on a lot of clients on purpose, and because I like to be a little more hands on than someone that might want to scale to 100 clients or 1,000 clients. Like, you can't be hands on with all 100 clients. So.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. One more question regarding this, I would like to ask, like, for in my agency, we also do email marketing, but we work with, like, coaches who are making either 10K to 20K, something around that, like 10K to 50K, I would say. You're working with such big companies. And in your starting days, you must have also worked with this kind of coaches. So I would like to ask you, what is the difference you have noticed or observed in your career from, like, working for coaches who is doing around 10 to 50K to now doing around 250 to 150K?
Yeah. I hope that this doesn't come across like, uh, when you're first starting out, it's really hard to get bigger clients.
Yeah.
So I want to be very clear about that. What I can tell you is that a client that's doing $250,000 a month, their offer works, their funnel works,
Mm.
their systems work, their salespeople work, their ads work, everything works. So
Yeah.
when I come in to do email for them, we know whether or not right away what's working and what's not from an email perspective, because everything else is working the way it needs to be. It's already scaled, right? And so it's incredibly easy. They're not testing offers, they're not testing sales pages, they're not testing VSLs or webinar. Like, all of that stuff works. And so there's only one variable entering into their ecosystem, and that's me. And so when the results lift, they know it's like, okay, email's playing a part. Doesn't mean email's the only piece of this puzzle, but it means that I'm playing my part, right? It's kind of like an orchestra. When you're
Hmm.
working with a client that's doing $10,000 a month or less than $100,000 a month, realistically, what's happening is you have a one man band, and
Hmm.
they might
Yeah.
have someone, they're it's the guy that's got the harmonica, that's like, a mouthpiece thing, and he's
The
playing a guitar, and then he's
harmonia.
got a foot pedal and a keyboard over here, right? And then he's like, hey, can you come grab something? And you're like, oh, okay. And you don't know what the audience likes yet. You don't know if they like that he's playing the harmonica. You don't know if they like that he's playing guitar or whatever he's stomping on his feet, or the bells or the piano. Like, they don't know. And then you pick up one of those pieces. Sometimes it works for a little bit. Sometimes it works for a long time. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. Sometimes it stays exactly the same, because we don't know how this all fits together yet. And we don't know if this song is being relayed the right way. And so it's very hard. And it's really hard to get paid a good amount of money because they're not making a good amount of money, right? If the business is making $10,000 a month, there's probably one or two people, like the owner and then one other person involved. So he's paying at least $1,000 a month to them, probably, maybe a little more. They're probably paying for ads. They're probably paying for softwares. They're probably making 6 grand a month in profit. And then you're going to come in and you're going to ask for $1,000 or $2,000 a month. Like, you're asking for a substantial amount of their money.
Hmm.
Whereas when I have a client that's making, $1 million a month, when I come in and I'm like, yeah, it's going to be 20 grand a month, they're like, okay, it's not a problem to them. Or if the ads stop working, they're not calling me like, hey man, like, we can't pay you because the ad stopped working. They're calling me like, hey, the ad stopped working. Can you help us make a little extra cash? Yeah. But they're not, the 20 grand to them is still a drop in the bucket. And so that's why I went upriver with my clients. And it took time over the years to do that. Um, but the biggest difference between a 10K a month client and a $250,000 a month client or $1 million a month client is really just like the offer works, they're scaling, they have resources available to them, and they're willing to let go. Because it's really hard to get to 250, $300,000 a month if you're not willing to let go of the reins of some things and allow other people to step in and help. At
Hmm.
10 or 20 or $30,000 a month, it's very easy for that person to just like have a bad day and be like, I'm firing everybody. I'm just going to do this by myself. Because at 10, 20 or $30,000 a month, you don't have enough clients and you don't have any money. So it's like easy to just be like, I'm just going to do it. So that's been my experience personally.
Got it. That completely makes sense. And I get your point, like when like it's very different from for someone who is earning $10,000. And also the dynamicity of business is very hard, like sometimes you're not earning anything, and at that time you probably don't have money to pay to your employees and your hires. So yeah, that completely makes sense. But thank you so much for sharing that.
Of
uh,
course, of course.
I would also like to talk about your book, Email Deliverability.
Sure.
Can you share more about it? What is it about? Of course, it's about email deliverability, but what exactly it covers and what can we expect from it?
Yeah, I've written many books over the years. This is my first, like, I call it a technical manual. So if you want to know like the nitty gritty of exactly what email deliverability is and how to get emails into the inbox, not from a strategy perspective, but from like, what is Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook? What do they like demand in order for you to send an email and for it to land in the inbox as opposed to the spam folder? That's what that book is. So it's a literal technical manual on exactly how to do that. There's not really any stories in there. There's no fluff. It's a literal manual on how to do it. So there's everything from like how to set up your authentication, like your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records, which everybody's been hooting and hollering about over the last year, to how much email should you be sending and should you send it every day? what can you say and what can't you say, and what times a day should you be sending emails. Like this is all data from trillions of emails that have been sent over the years, and the feedback from Gmail, Yahoo, and Outlook. And not just like, oh, I think Gmail is this. It's like the person that works at Gmail corporate has had these conversations with our partners that are like, hey, this is what's going on for Gmail, this is what's going on for Yahoo, this is what's going on for Outlook. So that's what that book really is. I would say it's valuable for anyone sending email for a business, really at any scale. And it's more foundational, like fundamental things that most people are doing at least one of the 9 things in that book, but you need to be doing all 9. And it's not a radical change. It's just an understanding of like, this is what needs to be done. Here's why it needs to be done this way. And here's how to do it. And there's step-by-step SOPs in there on like exactly how to do it, as well. Cause it's literally a technical manual of like, how do you get emails into the inbox? There's not really any strategy in there or anything like that, which I know people think if you use the right strategy, you'll get into the inbox, which is a great thought process to have. But this is what you actually need to get into the inbox. So that's why I put the book together and put it out there. They can get it on Amazon. I think it's like $30 or Barnes and Noble. And then you can also, I think I still have a free, I'll make sure that it's free, but you can go on inboxingbook.com and download a PDF of the book too, if that's something people want. Just give me your email address. There's no upsells or funnels. I might sell my school community after that for $100, where it's got a course of the book and a bunch of other courses for free. If that, I think that might be an upsell in that funnel. I'm not sure. It's been a little bit, but not required. The book has everything that you need. So
I like you're very honest. I really like that. Um, I'll make sure that I link the book in our description, and also the free resource, so anyone who wants to access it, they can find it over there. But yeah, awesome.
awesome.
I just have one last question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the 3 mindset shifts you would like to give to Cole? Like you would like to give to someone who is watching this, but also to the Cole who started, in way back, maybe in like when he was 15 years old, 16 years old, just starting out in the industry, in the entrepreneurship. What would be the advice you would like to give to that person?
Yeah, 3 mindset shifts I'd love for anybody to have. I think the first one is focusing on the things you can control versus allowing the things you can't control to control you.
Mhm.
Um, so many times I see people like worrying about like, oh my God, so and so is doing this, or this business is doing this, or this person stole my copy from this, or that. All these things outside of your control don't matter to you. Like there's nothing you can do about it. And it puts you in a really reactive state, and reactive mindset does not allow for growth. A proactive mindset does. Meaning, what are you going to do going forward? Like what's next for you, and just focusing on the things that are within your control. I think that alone would help so many people in business, especially starting out. Like just focus on the things you can control. You can control your work ethic. You can control the output that you create. You can control the input that you create. You can control the thoughts that you have. Like these are things that you can control. And so I would focus heavily on those as opposed to things you can't control. The second mindset shift, this one comes from, it's like a blend of Gary Vee and then my mindset a little bit, but it's like have a lot of patience, but do it with urgency. Like you have a lot of time, but use the most of the time you have now. People severely overestimate what they can get done in 12 years and underestimate what they can get, or in 12 months, and severely underestimate what they can get done in 5 years. And so dream extremely big, like go big and be patient about it. Don't when I say be patient but urgent about it, it's don't beat yourself up that you don't have the thing yet. Keep doing the work. Keep showing up every day. Keep making things happen. Like that for me, that was like the biggest. I didn't realize it at the time, but that's what I was. Years of working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and was fine with it. I was never mad that I didn't have the thing. I never gave up because I didn't get the result. I just kept going. I was so patient about it. One day it'll come, one day it'll come, one day it'll come. And one day it does come. When I don't know for you, it could be 10 years from now, it could be tomorrow, it could be 6 months. No one knows, but just be patient, but be urgent about it. And the third one is, this one came to mind, so I'll just share this one. I was like, man, it's not even really mine. It comes from Mel Robbins, who's an author. I didn't read the book, but I had one of the students that I'm coaching is reading the book right now and was sharing. But it makes a lot of sense. It's just let people be people. Let people be people. I can't control other people's thoughts, actions, reactions, if they like me, if they don't like me. Just let them. If someone comes to me and they ask me for advice and then they don't take my advice, I don't get mad anymore. I'm just going to let them do what they're going to do. People are going to be, I can trust everyone to be themselves. And the quicker you come to terms with that, I think the quicker that you'll realize that you can operate the way that you need to operate, and you don't have to rely necessarily on the best of somebody, but you can just trust them to be them. If someone's consistently late, then just trust that they're going to be late. It's not that you can't trust them. You're just trusting them to do the wrong thing. Just trust them to be who they are and love them for exactly who they are as well. And you'll notice you'll let go of a lot of anger and resentment and frustration throughout that process, which frees you up to feel a lot more joy and happiness and make progress towards your goals. Yeah, I think those would be 3 good mindset shifts for anybody.
Those are amazing, actually. They just don't talk about business or strategies, but they are more about, as a person, if this is for anyone who is listening, it doesn't matter what they're doing, but yeah, it is really beautiful. And I really like the way you explained them step by step, because I was like, when you said let people be people, I was like, okay, exactly. I don't know what that means, but then when you explain it, okay. And this podcast, it was not just for, of course, it was for all the viewers. I know they are going to learn a lot of from it, but it was also for me. I learned so much, and I got so many value nuggets from you. And it was my pleasure to host you and to have you on my podcast. It was an amazing episode. I think I wish we could do this again. I have so many questions, but I know we are running out of time, so I would really like to do this again. I hope you enjoyed your time here, and thank you so much for making this possible for us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love the questions that you asked. I think it created a really awesome conversation there. And I'd love to come back at some point in the future and we can continue the conversation. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
awesome.